like when I cry, it's a good thing because it's letting it all out. Like I used to hate crying and I didn't want anyone to see me cry, and I felt like weak if I cried. Now I don't care. I just cry everything.
And it makes you feel so much better afterwards.
Just let it all out, and then it's just like, oh, okay, I've had my moment. I can move on.
Hi, and before we go any further, I just want to address the fact that I look like this. I've been in hospital and I'm recovering. I'm fine now. I'm just a bit sore and not my usual self. I actually recorded this video, this conversation, just before I went into hospital, which is why it's taken a little while to come out. I loved it so much. It was such a great conversation, and actually watching it back, I didn't realise how powerful this conversation was at the time, and now when I watched it back, it really hit me. It's with an amazing woman. Her name is Elisha, and I have known her for years. And she bravely talks about the loss of her mum and everything she went through in regards to that. So I hope you enjoy it.
Hi, my name's Elisha, and I've known Rhiannon for a very long time. We went to infant school together, secondary school together, and we still connect through social media a lot of the time.
So like, I do want to thank you for coming on, because I know that it's not easy to always talk about how you feel, and like I'll attest to that. But I also think it was like, when you reached out to me, I was really, really grateful, because I was just like, not only are you feeling brave enough to come and talk about, you know, your past and stuff, which is always quite difficult, but also I thought it would be a really good idea, because we're both going through similar things but with different people, so it's all very, very different. So it's a good idea to sort of talk about the differences and maybe some similarities and just go from there. So do you want to tell everyone what we're going to discuss today?
So I'm going to talk about grief, really. I know that a lot of people have been through it, and not everybody's journey is the same. So I just really wanted to speak about my personal experience of grief and losing my mum. I know many are aware of that, but I don't think anyone ever sees kind of like behind the scenes and how you feel, you know, when you're away from like social media and when you're away from your friends and stuff like that. So I wanted to share that story with everybody.
Do you think as well that maybe you, because I know I did, you sort of like try and be brave, you put on a little bit of a front because you don't want to bring other people down, so you don't always share the full extent of it?
100%. And I had to remember to be strong for my brothers because they were very young at the time, so I don't think I really grieved until a long time after my mum passed away, because I had to be there for my brothers, and I had only Malachi at the time, my son as well. So I had to make sure they were okay before I even showed any signs of being weak, you know? And that was hard.
I want to get on that a little bit later, but before we do, because you just made me think of a question, but before we do you want to sort of, for anyone who doesn't know, a little bit of a backstory, just your relationship with your mum, because obviously everyone has different relationships with their mum. So do you want to sort of tell us a little bit about that?
So I love her so much, and I always speak about her as though she was still here, and I think that's just a habit. I don't know, but it's very hard for me to say, you know, talk about her as though she's not here, kind of thing. So I may say that often, but it's just how I think I deal with things. She is an amazing woman, very strong. Our bond was amazing. I mean, when I was growing up, we did bicker a lot, and I think that's just because I was a teenager. And even when I think of that, and knowing now that she's gone, I think, oh my gosh, I spent those times arguing when I could have been loving her more, you know? I felt really bad for those things, but she's just, she's amazing. She's amazing.
And I know, like, obviously when we was growing up, how even, like, I know you say that when you was a teenager, I think that's normal. I think we all went through that. But like, I could even see it then, how close you two were and how much of a help you was to your mum. Because like you said, you have two younger brothers. So you was like best friends almost. And although that she had two younger children, she was always still 100% there for you. Like, I remember her cooking us like fried breakfast when we'd have sleepovers and stuff like that. Like, she was always so giving and very free with her love and her expression of love.
She had the biggest heart. She'd put everyone and everything before herself. And I think that showed up until her last days. You know, she would care so much about others, and I think that's where I've kind of got my caring is from my mum. Yeah.
Absolutely. Do you want to tell like the journey up until how your mum passed?
Yeah. So my mum passed in 2014, but 3 years before that, she just got really, really ill all of a sudden, really, really quickly. She was off of her food, she was vomiting, and I know it took a while before she got to see like specialist doctors. I think that was maybe like at least a year before she got to see those. And then that's when she was diagnosed with stage 4 stomach cancer.
Wow.
So by that stage, it was just kind of too late. So they could only kind of try and make the tumour smaller and just prolong her life a little bit longer. She had her stomach removed, and that was the biggest operation. And we thought, oh wow, that's amazing. But then removing the stomach made space for it to spread, which we didn't know until afterwards.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So then after her operation, I think that's when things kind of took a turn for the worse. And then they were like, you've got literally 3 years to live. And it was the 3 years, literally.
Wow.
Yeah, and it just happened so quickly. 1 minute you're here, you're okay. Next minute you're vomiting. You don't think nothing of it. Then you've got a diagnosis, and then you're like, you've got 3 years to live, and then you're gone, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it happened very, very quickly.
Can you tell me? A lot of people said to me, obviously my brother died like that. Like he went asleep one day and just didn't wake up again. And a lot of people say to me like, oh, what do you think's harder, like when you get the call saying they had this long to live, or like just losing him like that? And I said, I don't think either one is easier to deal with, because if you're told beforehand, the agony starts then, and the regret starts then, and you know, the what ifs start then. So like, can you tell me your sort of journey with that?
Yeah.
Like, did it make it easier, or?
I mean, I agree with you. I think knowing it's always in the back of your mind. So every day you want to spend with her, you're not really putting 100% into it, because you're like, is this my last day, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes if I didn't know, it may be a little bit better to deal with. But then you've also got the shock of, if it's sudden, oh my gosh, you're not prepared.
I didn't get to say goodbye.
Really, you didn't get to say goodbye. Exactly. Yeah. And as much as we knew, I mean, it was like, okay, is it going to be this day? I remember it being her last week, and I was like, is it going to be this day? Is it going to be this day? And that was on my mind. And I feel like now I should have just pushed that to the side and spent time with her as much as I could, you know? So I think both is very, very difficult. Very.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I don't think, it's always like amazing to me that death is the only thing guaranteed about life, and it's the thing we just don't know how to deal with. So like, I don't think if you're given that heads up, or if it's sudden, I don't think either one is easy. I think they're both equally difficult, but like you said, in maybe just different ways. So when you, like, immediately after, did you get the call, or was you there? Like, what happened?
Yeah, so it was me, my dad, and my mum at the time in her house. And my dad had said that he's going to the shop. So he literally went. Before that, I was sitting with her. I remember going to Walthamstow Market, bumping into my mum's friend and speaking about her. But then in my mind, I'm like, I need to hurry up and go, because, you know, I don't know what's going on at home. So I wasn't really, you know, into the conversation. So I remember rushing back and reading. My mum has like it's a Holy Tablets book. It's just like, she's very spiritual. So I remember picking it up and reading it to her, and I hadn't read it before. I just opened the book and read from the page, and it spoke about when you pass on. It's like you're on a plane full of all the other spirits, and once you reach your destination, you'll see a shooting star. Like, we will see a shooting star. And I'm just reading this to her, not thinking nothing of it. Put the book down. My dad said he's going to the shop, And then I think I must have seen him out, come back upstairs, and I noticed my mum wasn't responsive. And then I was like, okay, this could be it, you know? So then I sat with her, spoke to her. I was like, you know, it's okay, I'm ready. And I remember the night before that, I'm very spiritual too. So I spoke to the higher being, whoever that may be, and was like, you know what? I'm ready to let my mum go because she's suffering a lot. So I was like, it's selfish of me to say, please keep her, knowing that she's suffering so much. So prior to that day, I was like, you know what? I'm ready. And then fast forward to that day, she passed. And it was just me and her, nobody else, literally in the room. My dad could have easily have been there, but he wasn't. And I was like, why would you go? And it's just me, I can't deal with these emotions, you know. But then everybody since then was like, maybe she just wanted it to be you and her.
That's
and
special.
I was like, that, yeah, is very, very special, very special. But that in itself, I remember like the evening, coming outside and kind of taking a breather by myself, looking up and seeing a shooting star. And I'm like, you can't make things up. Yeah, you can't make this up. And I was like, you know, she's reached heaven, you know.
Yeah, 100%. No, this is good. You need to let it out. And I think people need to see that it's okay to cry. Like, losing your mum is not something that you're gonna be smiling about, you know.
No, 100%. And this is why I wanted to do it, because if I can help someone, you know, crying is okay, feeling like crap is okay, you know. Speaking is important. And sharing your experiences.
So are you okay to carry on?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Okay, so immediately after, can you tell me what was going through your mind? Because although that you sort of got a heads up beforehand, it's here now, it's happening. So like, where do we go from here?
I think my first thought after that was, how on earth am I going to tell my brothers? How am I going to tell my son? What do I say? You know, I remember them being at school and I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do, you know? But then automatically I kind of went into like strength mode and was like, okay, right, they're going to come home. My cousin was there at the time, that she's going to take them away. Let me sort out this situation here, you know, let them come for my mum and take her. And then they can come back to the home and then we can speak about it. And I remember it was me and my godmum at the time. And we just kind of told them. And yeah, I think at that time I was surrounded by my family. So that helped an awful lot. Like my aunt was there, my godmum was there. But yeah, straight after her passing, that was my first thought, is how am I going to tell?
Did you ever sort of, whether it was consciously or unconsciously, did you ever sort of think, now I have to step into her shoes and be, obviously you can't be your brother's mum, but you can sort of be the next best thing and sort of take on her role for them?
Do you know what? I didn't, only because I feel like prior to this, I was doing it anyway.
So you've done it beforehand.
Yeah, and she was sick for a long time before she passed. So I already took that role on. So it was just this thing, as I think it was more of, I just needed to continue and maybe step a bit better and, you know, make sure things are in order in that sense. But I think I was, you know, doing it already before that.
Yeah.
That part was very easy for me.
Yeah, well, I think because, like I said, you, from way back when, you was sort of like your mum's right-hand man, always always helping, always, you was very involved in their upbringing, like even from before you knew anything was wrong with your mum. So I think that role was already naturally, and I know everyone believes different things, but I believe that maybe you was put in that role because God or the universe or whatever source energy knew that this was going to happen, so had been sort of training you from way, like, before you even knew.
I
Yeah.
agree. Yeah.
Do you think that you're like losing your mum, and because she was very spiritual, and maybe in a way to sort of like get closer to her, and just the process of losing someone, do you think that's deepened your connection with spirituality or religion?
100%, especially with spirituality. And I think the whole seeing the shooting star after I just opened the book, it could have been on any page,
Yeah.
and it happened to be that page. And then at the end, seeing that, I was like, that is in itself enough for me to say, I don't know what it is, but there is something out there that is connecting everyone together. And it's so beautiful. And that helped me heal, because I knew that she had reached wherever it was in peace,
Yeah,
that
100%.
helped so much.
What do you say to the people who will be like, oh, you're just believing that because you want to believe that, because, you want to believe that your mum is somewhere safe, and, what would you say to those people?
I think it all depends on your experiences, and that's not the only experience that I had, I can understand everybody just wants it to be that, for comfort, but it's so personal to her and to me. I can only believe it,
Yeah, I was having a very open conversation with someone one day, and they was just like, well, don't you think you're only believing that because it makes you feel better? And I was like, maybe, but it's working. And not only that, is I can't make you see something how I feel, just like how I can't tell you exactly how I feel love, how I know love is real. I can describe how it feels to me, but I can't show you it because it's not a physical thing. It's just something I feel inside, and I just know. And that's just how I describe it. Yeah, but I
agree.
I'm the same. I've 100% since losing, I've never been religious, but losing my brother deepened that spirituality side. And you realize how many people, they might have a problem with a certain religion or a certain like rules around certain things, but their spirituality, there's so many people who that runs through their core, maybe they don't even know it. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
So you've dealt with your brothers and everything like that. Was there anything that surprised you about your journey with grief?
The fact that you don't know what to expect, and 1 minute you're okay and the next you're crying, and it's come out of nowhere. So I thought it would be like, I'd be upset for a while, but then I'd be okay. But no, it's every single day is different, and I could have a great 5 days and then a horrible 5 days, That was the thing that I was like, oh, okay, no, this is a roller coaster of emotions and feelings.
That was the same for me. I thought that, you'd go through a stage of sadness, and then you'd go through a stage of whatever, then you go through a stage of whatever. But actually it was just like sadness, guilt, shame, sadness, anger, like, and you don't just like go on a line like this to you're okay. It's like this. Like you just don't know what it's going to be like. And the smallest thing can set you off. Like you can be talking about something not really related to loss or grief, but you could just be talking about something and you'd be like, that was my mum's favorite song, or that was her favorite verse of something, and it really just sets you off.
I remember being in my son's room and we was tidying up, and I was like just tidying, doing normal things, and then I started thinking of my mum's passing, and I really, really had a hatred for the higher being, the spiritual world. And I was like, if there is something out there, why would you let me go through this pain? And then I'd like to cry. And it was just me in this room, and it came out of nowhere. But it's a memory I'll never ever forget.
Speaking of that, because that's a very normal sort of reaction, is the anger, and like, why? You start to look at your mum and think she was a good person. Why did this happen to her? What did you ever feel? How can I describe this? Like, we'll get to the support you had in a second, but did you ever feel like you was just really alone? I know you have your brothers and you have your dad and you have friends and stuff like that, but did you ever just feel like they just don't get it?
Yes, no matter how many times someone said I am there for you, it didn't make sense in my head. I was like, you're not, I'm on my own. I'm dealing with this, and there's nobody here that is supporting and helping me or understands at all. So as much as they were telling me this, I wasn't taking it in whatsoever. And I felt really, really alone. And I couldn't, it seemed like I was blocking out everybody's positive energy, because I was like, I'm here on my own. I need to deal with this on my own. And you're saying you're here, but you're not, kind of thing, And that was very difficult to deal with.
Did you ever push people away in order to just go within and deal with stuff?
I probably did. Obviously not, I didn't mean to if I did, but I'm guessing, I did.
Yeah, but again, I think that's normal. Like, we kind of just need to, all these external stuff, we just need to focus on healing and just trying to get through the hour or get through the minute if it's a really bad time. I just don't beat yourself up about it, because I still do it. But so what, did you have any support around you? Did you have any tools around you? Like, what did you use to get through?
Family. And I see that when I came out of the situation. My aunties, my cousins, my partner, everybody, even Malachi, family helped me, with, I had a funeral, and I hadn't even been to a funeral, and the first one I'm going to and arranging is mum's. That's a lot. So I didn't know where to go for flowers. I didn't know what to do, where do you go? What do you do? And it was my family. It was like, you know what? They helped me, and they, showed me the way, and I can't thank them enough, because, you feel clouded when you're in that situation, and you really don't know what to do or what to say, and they helped me a lot. And I didn't see it then. I did not see it then.
You don't, because you can't really see anything past the pain. Like, I don't know about you, but there's days where, like, you don't even want to, like, get washed or get dressed. You don't want to talk to anyone. Sometimes it's just hard to be here and just feel that pain. Was there any
that,
sorry, go on.
Oh, sorry.
No, go on.
Saying when you said you touched upon not wanting to be here, that was, I think, the lowest point in my life. It got to the point where I couldn't deal with not seeing her and not understanding why this is going on. And I remember I felt like there was no one around me, so I was dealing with it on my own, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. I felt suicidal. I was like, I'm no use to anyone here, because I'm grieving and no one understands, and I still have to look after my son. And it got so low that I was having these thoughts, and I was like to myself, how low must I be to want to leave my child here on his own, And then I think that's when I was like, I need to sort stuff out, because it's not going great,
I think that's a real honest conversation. So when you're going through something like that, was it your son? Was he the turning point? Because so many people follow through with those thoughts, and it's such a shame, because there's always something to live for. There's always something, and if it's not here right now, it's just about to happen. So what was going through your head that thought, no, this is where I need to build from?
I think my son, like, he doesn't even know how he's changed my life, but it was him. And it was also my mum saying, when I do pass, I don't want you to be sad. I don't want you to, be suicidal. I just want you to live your best life. It was those combined that was like, Elisha, you need to seek help or do whatever it is you need to do to be strong and to be here and present.
Yeah. And I always felt like, if I go into like a really bad place and waste my life, then that's sort of sticking my fingers up to my brother, because he doesn't have the opportunity here. So by me wasting my life and ruining my life, how is that helping him? That doesn't help him. So in order to sort of pay tribute to to the people that we've lost, we kind of have to live an extra special life, or try our best to live an extra special life, because I believe they are still coming on the journey with us. Okay, we're in our bodies here right now, me and you, we're using our bodies to talk to each other, but our souls are eternal. They're never going anywhere. Our bodies may break down and they may shut down, but our souls are here forever. And I believe that my brother's soul and your mum's soul and everyone who you're ever going to meet, his soul is always going to be, like you said before, we're intertwined and connected in some way. I know that everyone doesn't believe that, and that's absolutely fine. That's just my opinion. But I feel like we are taking them with us. And like you said, your mum doesn't want you to be sad. It's true. Like, if God forbid, touch wood, God forbid that something did happen to one of us now, we wouldn't want to see our children crying and wasting their life. We'd want them to be happy, because we're still going to be with them regardless. And I do believe that the bond you have, the love bond you have, doesn't go away just because a pulse isn't there anymore. That bond is always there. Your souls are always connected. So I think
I agree.
That's a real important conversation, and that's honest to say that, like, those thoughts were going through my head. So, like, well done you for owning that, because it's not easy, and it's not everyone can understand. And I think a lot of judgment comes with when you voice that something was going through your head like that. So massive respect to you. So we've talked about how grief is not linear, it's erratic, and you can go through anything like that. You also spoke about that you sort of like delayed your grief because you was being there for your brothers and your son, and I get it. I went through the same thing with my children, but my parents. Do you think that because your grief was delayed, that there was an expectation for, at that point, it's okay now because it's been a while, so you're fine? So maybe the support wasn't there, or the help wasn't there, or am I completely wrong?
No, I think, you're right. I think people probably saw it as, okay, Alicia's handling things now. She seems a lot better, and she's okay to just be left, kind of thing. Whereas that it was the total opposite. I felt like after the funeral and stuff, people checked in for a little while after that, and then it just kind of went away. And I think that's because they probably thought, okay, Alicia's over the hardest part and she's kind of got it, whereas I didn't have it at all. And that was like the lowest of the low for me.
Well, I think you're never really equipped to know how to deal with a situation like that. Like, even if we're not crying anymore, I still don't know how to navigate life without my mum. And did you find it, obviously you had a young son, and then shortly after you had another son. Was there any times, because I know how much I lean on my mum, was there any times where that just sort of like amplified how much you missed her, or sort of like dug the knife in more, like raising your children and not having your mum to turn to?
Yeah, I remember finding out I was pregnant with my youngest and saying to my friend, I don't know if I can do this. This is going to be the first baby I have without my mum. My mum was at the birth of my first. She supported me throughout. She taught me how to even become a mother. And I'm not going to have that. And that really made me choose my decision. I was like, I don't know if I can continue with this without her. And it was my friend that was like, I have a great friend network, I have family. She's still around, just not in, the form that I'd like, but she's still around. And you'll be fine. But I really questioned it. I did.
I think that's normal, because like I said, I lean on my mum so much, and any little thing, especially like when they're babies and you're new to it and you're like, Mum, what's this? What does this mean? It's so difficult. You just said that your mum's not around, or not in the way that you'd like. Do you still have a connection to your mum where you can communicate with her?
Yeah, I do. I meditate a lot, I fast a lot, just to get closer spiritually to her. I speak to her through prayer every single day. Even if there could be a day where I'd, maybe fall asleep early and forget to, and I'd be like, I'm so sorry, mum.
Oh,
I'll speak
yeah.
to you double the next day, but every single day, that's how I feel connected to her.
Do you ever get sort of like replies? And I know, to anyone who doesn't believe in all this kind of stuff, this is going to sound like the most weird conversation, but I have feathers always like appear when I'm feeling sad, and to me it's a little like my brother telling me like I'm still here, don't worry. Or like there might be other like robins are quite a common one. Like we went to a theme park the other day, and my youngest was like playing peekaboo with a robin, and I was like, this is not normal behavior from a robin. So that's how I believe my brother is communicating with me. Do you have anything where you are like, yep, that's my mum?
Yeah, I do. Magpies. Literally, when I'm feeling my lowest, they'll pop up. When I'm going through a certain life change, they'll be there. When I moved into the house I moved into, there was about 70 of them all on the literally, like, and that was her favorite bird. That she loves magpies.
Yeah.
So every time I see one, I'm like, well, and it's always at a time of need where I'm going through certain emotions, or I need the sign to, say, come on, Elisha, you can do it. It's always at the right time.
I 100% believe that, and especially if it's her favorite bird, that's her way of showing you I'm still here, like I'm still walking beside you. You can't see me, we can't have a conversation like me and you are now, but she's just letting you know, like, yep, come on, you can do this, come on.
Yeah.
I love it. If you could go back, just say that it was your mum's time to go, if you could go back with your journey, is there anything you would do differently?
It sounds silly, but I'd take more pictures. Really,
with your mum?
With my mum, The pictures are so important. And since after she passed, I've made it, my thing to take pictures with family, because I don't have very many of pictures with my mum growing up, or like my teenage years, and that's something I wish I could look back on and reminisce, and it's just stuff like that. I don't feel we took enough.
I'm guilty I'm terrible. I never take pictures. I just try and like live in the moment, and I'm like, what do I need pictures for? But I'm the same, like there's not that many pictures of me and my brother, because we was both like awkward at taking pictures, so we just don't have any. So I think that's a really good one. What about after your mum died, like in your stage of healing, is there anything you would go back and do differently?
I think speak more. I tend to deal with things on my own, and only at breaking point will I kind of speak to someone, when it's sometimes too late. And I think if you speak to someone like in the beginning, as much as it's hard, it just helps you a little bit to release that kind of, feeling that you are upset, or even if it's to speak to someone for guidance, or I don't know, it helps a lot. And I learned that a little bit too late. Like I'm a closed book. I don't like sharing emotions or feelings or speaking to anyone. One, because I feel like it's a burden. They've probably got their own things going on. Why do you want to hear mine? And two, I just deal with things on my own.
Do you think that's changed now since? Do you like make more of an effort to sort of voice? Yeah,
I try to.
Do you think it's changed your relationships in any way? Maybe like for the better, maybe for the worse?
I think it has. I think it's made my relationships better. Because once they know what's going on or what's wrong with you, they can help. If I don't speak, then no one will be able to help me, because they don't know. So it's definitely made relationships and friendships a lot better.
I found the same thing, that I realized how short life is and how valuable life is. So when we like have a strop about something, or when we you know, are going through something and we don't speak about it, that's never ever helping. And my husband has been amazing, because he's just like, talk to me, I can see something's on your mind, so talk to me. So I've really sort of been forced to share how I feel, whether it's pretty or ugly, like I'll just say it, then we can deal with it, and then we can move on from it. Whereas if I'm dealing with it by myself, it builds and it builds and it builds and it builds until it's this humongous thing in my head, and my life is no happier for having to deal with it by myself, because I kind of expect other people to mind read how I'm feeling and then change their behavior. It doesn't make sense.
And then sometimes I don't know if you get upset at the fact that they're not picking up the signs.
Yeah, how dare you?
But if
like
I'm not
making it
telling
clear
them, then they're not going to know.
Yeah, 100%. And it's, you know, but then I sometimes think you need to go through something in order to learn these lessons. Like, when we don't come here pre-programmed, we're a fresh innocent baby, and we have to go through lessons and experience things in order to learn and grow. So you know, it's just something that I had to learn, is to be able to, I'm the same, I find it very difficult to talk about how I'm feeling, and I just want to like shut down and deal with stuff. Doesn't work. So you have to learn to communicate. And I'm the same. Like, it's enriched my relationships with friends, with family, with my husband, with my kids, because I know how valuable life is. So I'm 100% the same.
I agree.
Was there anything with like support from people, or maybe like professionals or whatever, was there anything that sticks out in your mind that thinks that really helped? If I know someone going through something, I'm going to try and do that for them.
Counselling. So I, obviously, because it's hard for me to share my feelings, when it was suggested to me, I was like, how can I go and speak to a stranger and tell them my problems and cry in front of someone that doesn't know me? But it was the best decision. I spoke to this counsellor about grief for, I can't remember how long it was, but it was for a long period of time, maybe like 3 months. And it really, really helped me. I spoke more than I've ever spoken to anyone ever. I cried, I laughed, and I walked out thinking, wow, this has changed me. It's changing me, and I love how I have become, you know. I love the person I am now because I'm speaking to someone. So if someone's going through grief, or, you know, anything, speak to someone, speak to a professional, speak to the counsellor, because it helps. It really does.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah, and I would be the first to say, you know what, no, just stick to speaking to, you know, keeping it in, or speaking to someone that's close to you. An outsider won't know, but it helped me, and I've changed my opinion since then. Yes.
Do you think that there's stigma, or like a taboo, or like judgment around counselling that made it difficult for you to do that? Yeah,
I do. And I think, like, my family, we're like, oh no, we don't go and share our business with anybody, you know. We keep it in our circle,
in the family.
so that so that was very hard. I even thought, like, me going, am I kind of going against my family's wishes, you know? So that did cross my mind, but no, it helped so much. But
the fact that you had enough self-awareness and self-love to be like, no, this is something I need to do for myself, is massive. And maybe that was a little bit of your mum as well, sort of like guided you, because maybe she knew that it will be helpful to you, or even just exploring. It might not help, it might help, but you're never going to know unless you try it. I do think a lot of, like, around counselling and sharing and stuff like that, I think there's a lot of like misinformation, and people think like, oh, we don't need to do that, or like people like us don't do that, or like you said, in our family we don't do that. And maybe that's the case for some people, but not everyone is the same, which we should all know by now, but we just don't. So I think, what would you say to someone who is considering counselling or doesn't know if it's, you know, a right option for them?
Go. Even if you have doubt, try and speak to someone, and if you don't like it, at least you've tried and you've had that option. It helped me an awful lot, and I think that was my turning point in life, where I was like, okay, my mum's not here, I'm always going to feel pain, but I'm going to learn ways to deal with it. So yeah, I would always advise to go and seek help.
And was there any tips or tools that you learned in counselling that you've carried through with you?
This was a while ago. Maybe just, she did say to speak, to share, to write things down. If I don't feel comfortable speaking, or if I don't want to speak at that particular time, write it down, because that's another way of kind of letting it go. So that's one thing that I've actually carried on doing, writing things down.
I 100% all up for writing down. I love my journaling, and it was a key point in my healing, because it was a way for me to express how I felt unfiltered. I didn't have to care about someone else's opinion. I didn't have to care about someone else's feelings. I didn't have to care about upsetting anyone. I could just let it all out and express how I felt, and there was no judgment. Your handwriting doesn't have to look lovely or anything like that. It doesn't have to be in a fancy notebook. It can just be on a old envelope, just writing it out. And I found that with journaling or writing it out, that I didn't have to wait for anyone else. I didn't have to feel like a burden to anyone else. I didn't have to like wait for someone else to finish work, or wait for my friend to ring me, or wait for my husband to come home, or anything like that. It was just, I was in control, and I could just get it out when it needed to come out. So I'm with you on that one. And it's funny how often I hear that, actually, because I thought it was just me. I thought that's just something that rich people do, like journal. But I found it massively helps.
My mum used to write things down as well. Like when I was little, I remember seeing like notepads everywhere, or even any type of paper she could find, and she'd write. And I understand now why she was doing it, but she used to do that a lot.
I remember posting a picture on Instagram of a book I was reading, and you was just like, my mum loved that book, and hearing stuff like this, and I'm like, I wish that I was me when I knew your mum, so we could have conversations, and I just like get into her mind, because she was just always so warm and so open, and I just she's just the type of person you just want to be around. So I just love to like have that conversation with her.
Same.
You said that you said you talk about your mum like she's still here, and I do the same. And I know we spoke a little bit about like souls and that, and do you think it's a way that you deal with it, or do you think that that's just what you believe?
I think one is a coping mechanism, and two, I feel like it's just keeping them present. I don't want to think that she's gone forever, you know. So if I say, you know, my mum likes instead of liked, it kind of keeps her here, you know, even down to my mum's house. It's my brother's house now, but I find it so difficult to say, oh yeah, I'm going to my brother's house. I still say I'm going to my mum's house, you know?
I still talk about my brother. Maybe not like he's here, but I still talk about him like kind of like he's still here. Like I wouldn't say like I'm going to see my brother, but actually I think I say that when I'm going to like his grave and stuff. But like I'll talk about him and say like, oh, that's what David's like and stuff like that. But I think for me, I talk about my brother like, if I start saying was, or he did, or stuff like that, then it's like I'm erasing him. And I don't want to do that. Not only like I'm not trying to like keep him alive in any way, but it's like he was still a person, and he still had these things. And I remember someone put something online about, oh, how many sons did Mary have, or something like that, and it was about brothers. And anyway, cut long story short, they was just like, oh no, because one died, so she doesn't have a brother. And I was just like, but I don't agree, because I still have a brother. He's not here. You can't see him. You can't call him. But you can't take away the fact that I have memories and that I had this whole experience in this whole existence with him. So it's just like, if someone says like, oh yeah, Elisha had a mum. No, Elisha still has a mum. She's just not here anymore. So it just doesn't make sense to me. So like when I talk about him, it's not like I try and keep him alive. I know that he's gone. I'm not in denial, but it's just, it doesn't make sense to me when people are like, oh, Rhiannon had a brother. No, I still have a brother, but he's just not here right now. So yeah, when you said that in the beginning, I was just like, oh, I just need to like mention that, because I think, but I don't think people can understand unless they've been through it. You know, like no one can take away all them years of you and your mum just because she's technically not here anymore. Her body's technically not here anymore. So if you could go back, so you said, sorry, you said it was 2014.
Yes.
That's 7 years ago.
Yeah. And it feels like yesterday.
It's mental. Yeah, it's gone quick. Like I didn't think it was 7 years.
Jeez. And you was at the funeral. You was, wasn't you? Yeah.
That's mental. So do you, if you could go back from when it just happened and tell the Elisha 7 years ago a little piece of advice just to keep her going, what would you tell yourself?
Things are going to be okay. You may get sad, but it's okay. The people that are around you are there to help you, and you're not on your own. You're not on your own.
I think that's important, because we can all feel very alone during difficult times. And there are like 7.5 billion people on the planet. We're never alone, but we do feel it. So I think that's really important, is to sort of say like, you know, talk to people, let it out. And the thing is, people want to be there for you. People want to help. People don't know how to help. So they kind of need direction, and they need you to be like, okay, this is what I need from you right now. And people will be happy to do it. But we always feel like an inconvenience, or like, I don't know what to say. I don't want to say the wrong thing. And I don't know if you had that, but like I always had people being like, oh, I don't know if I should message her. I don't know if I should. But like, just I might not reply because I might be going through some stuff. But I always, when I said to you about, is there one thing that you found was helpful? One thing I found helpful was my cousin always messaged me, and she'd always started with, don't reply to this, and then send me like a quote or like, I love you, I'm thinking about you, or something like that. And that really helped me, because I was able to not feel obliged to reply, but also it was like a little way of her letting me know that she was there for me.
No,
that's so important. It
really is. I even
go on.
Sorry.
No, go on.
I even text my mum's phone. Like my mum's phone's off. And it's just little things like that. I still text and send, and you know, it's just, I think, a little bit of comfort to me.
And it's like, you don't realize what you're going to miss. Like, you know, you're going to miss your mum, but you don't realize you're going to miss a little text popping up and it being from mum, or your phone ringing and it being mum. Like, you don't realize the things you're going to, the everyday things that are really insignificant but mean so much when they're gone. Is there anything that you think I should have asked you that I haven't asked that you think will help people?
No, I think you always do a brilliant job, and I think you've covered it all, and you've brought out so much stuff that I felt uncomfortable in sharing, and I shared it really easily.
You've done amazing. You've done so good.
Thank you. And I only cried once.
And it wasn't even like an ugly cry like I normally do. It was just a really like delicate cry. Do you think that, I don't know, like, how did it feel beforehand, before we done this call? Like, did you build it up in your head? Was you like ready to talk about it? Like, how did you feel?
I think I've been ready for a long time to speak about my situation and, you know, what I had been through. And then when I knew it was today, I was like, okay, right, I'm ready, you know? whatever happens, happens, and I speak my truth, and if it helps someone, great. But yeah, I was ready. It was time.
How do you feel now that we've like spoke all about it and you've sort of like put it out there? How do you feel?
Like a weight's been lifted, really. I always wanted to share my journey with everyone. I just didn't know how to. I didn't know if people wanted to listen. I didn't know how I would be able to share it, how I would be, if I would be strong enough to. But yeah, I'm glad that I did.
I'm glad that you did, and I think that's so important. Like, I remember when I like told people that I wrote a book and it was on Amazon, and like, I was terrified. Like the lead up to it, I was just like, I can't do this, I can't put it out there. But then once I'd done it and it was done, I felt liberated. I just felt like all of this heaviness was just like gone. And it's amazing how much we fight it and try and like contain it. And really, we just need to let it go. Just put it out there. And it's true what you said about like you feel like you need to sometimes express yourself and to say like, this is my story, this is what's happened, it's happened to me, but it doesn't define me, it doesn't define my future. But sometimes it's like we're waiting for permission, we're waiting for someone to say like, so tell me your story, but we don't need that. And I love the fact that you messaged me and was just like, yep, I'm ready to put it out there. Because you gave yourself permission. And there is always a way. Like I always say that whether you want to write it down or tell a friend or even video yourself expressing yourself and just let it all out. You don't have to watch it back if you don't want to, or you can, but like just get it out. Whether there's if you don't want to tell a friend, if you don't want to video yourself, if you don't want to write, there's charities out there, there's trained people who are like know how to help you properly. There's so many opportunities, and we always feel so alone. We always feel like we have to bear the weight of the world, and we don't. So I just want to say massive thank you to you, because you've just been amazing. And I think your mum will be so proud of you. Like I know so much more than what's on this video, and I honestly am so amazed at how you mustered strength to raise your son and then have another son and raise your brothers basically, and sort of navigate your way through life when who knows how to deal with life anyway, let alone going through everything that you've been through. So like I just want to acknowledge that in you so and I just think you're amazing.
Thank you.
And thank you for doing this.
So you.
Thanks for doing this interview with me.
No problem.
Is there anything else you want to share while you have the stage?
Yeah, I actually want to say thank you to you and well done for the amazing things that you're doing. Honestly, you're writing a book, you're helping so many others. If I didn't see your first one with Mikhail, I don't think I would be doing this here. It was from that I was like, Rhiannon is the one, So thank you, and keep doing what you're doing, and you help so many people.
Well, I can only do it by having brave people come in to share their story and own their past. So thank you to you as well. But yeah, thank you so much.
No.
I really hope you enjoyed that video. What you didn't see, unfortunately, we stopped recording and then we had a little chat after that, just a little catch up and that, and we had a really deep conversation, and I wish we caught that on camera, but we didn't. So who knows, maybe we'll do another video and we'll talk about stuff. But she was really, really honest, and I just want to thank Elisha so much for coming with that bravery and that vulnerability, because that took some guts. Like she said, she was just ready, and I want to just highlight again the fact that she gave herself permission to talk, and we can always do that. We always have the power to do that. We don't have to wait for someone else to ask how we're doing or if we're coping okay. We always have the power to give ourselves permission to talk, whether it's to a friend, a professional, like I said in the video, maybe it's on paper, or you can even film yourself like I'm doing right now. Just film yourself and just express yourself and just let it all out. You always have the power to give yourself permission to talk. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.